Hello everybody, it's time for another ZBEST DIY camera restoration and repair video. Tonight's episode, we'll be working with a vintage Rolleiflash from the ROLLEI company, Franke and Heidecke in Germany. As you can see here, they were well known for very high quality cameras, equipment, lenses, and numerous other optical and photographic pieces. And tonight we're going to be working with this piece that I acquired recently. The flash is from the 40s and 50s, and it would mount to the front of the ROLLEICORD and ROLLEIFLEX cameras with this type of bayonet mount that you see here. I happen to have a ROLLEICORD here. This is the Model 6 Type 2, and just so that you can see how this would mount, this was an original equipment piece, and this would mount with the bayonet. This is a bayonet 1 on this, and it would fit right into the bayonet there, and it would sit. You could either have it like this, kind of at a weird angle, but it worked just right because the light focused right on the same focal plane as the taking lens here, which is really interesting. I hope you can all see that. And you could adjust these too if you wanted them at different positions or different areas. I'll take this off and I'll move this nice ROLLEICORD to the side, and we can work on that at another time. But tonight we're going to be working on this ROLLEIFlash, kind of doing some things to this cord, looking actually inside to take a look at this really unique and interesting historical flash. Well, hello everybody. We're going to look further into our ROLLEIFlash tonight, and this particular unit had a circular cordage that came out, and it rolled out so that you could attach it to the camera. I will show this on the ROLLEICORD that I had out earlier, and it would attach right here with this specific type of connection, and you can see it would go right here. Hope you can see that. And then it would get worn out because it would be flexing here. So these typically they had an issue with the cord kind of getting weak right there. So we'll take this off. We'll move this camera aside, and this rewound, as the direction of the arrow goes right back inside. And we'll take a look at this tonight. And how this came off is you would unscrew the inside here, and this section would just come right off. And very fascinating way that they had this put together. You had a roll type spool where the wiring would come out, and then right underneath the wire would wind up on this spindle, very neatly packed away, well made, all metal. And as I turn it from the other side, you can see the movement and how it goes inside. We'll work on this to reinforce this. On the inside, it used a 22.5 volt battery that comes right out. And this is an old battery that's no longer available, but it had contact points on the top and a contact point on the bottom. This was a standard battery for various electronic components, radios, and things like that in the day. Pretty advanced for its time. And then you have a large capacitor here to power the big flashes or flash bulbs that they would have in these units. You have a release mechanism for the bulbs up on top, so that they would pop out, and after they were used. It was a one-time use only bulb for these units. You have a ready light here. You would press the top of this button, this light would come on, and you would know that you'd be ready to go. The way the circuitry was, when this was charged up, this was capable to give a small charge here on the backside. There's electronics here on the backside of this board, and you would be able to test this to see if it was ready to go. Very nicely well-made piece. The battery goes actually back inside, just like this. Fits nicely in there, in that kind of a triangle, which is quite similar to the ROLLEI trademark that they had. It's interesting that they made it like that. I'm not sure if it was to complement their logo, or if it just happened to be that, that this was the most efficient German manufacturing process or design process to utilize this. Actually, what we're going to do tonight is we're going to do a little restoration on this. I'll show you what we typically do when we get something like this. This hook's right up on top with this hook here. So we're going to put that right up on top, and then this screws down very nicely. Very well done. This is a spring unit here, so that when it was on the camera, it had a little bit of flexibility, a little bit there. So if you bumped it, the bayonet on the camera lens wouldn't take the pressure on that. So that's a really terrific engineering design on that. So what we typically do, we usually give it a little blast of air, and this is dust off or some type of an air product. Kind of clean that off a little bit to get the initial dust off. This isn't in too bad of condition, and then what I typically do is I get a slightly damp cloth, and I will wipe this just to kind of get any kind of excess dirt or dust off of this unit. And I take just a lightly damp cloth. It doesn't have to be too much, and this actually comes off, which is kind of a nice touch. I'm going to put this aside over here, and then we just clean this up like so, and you can already see that that's really coming clean. And then also we can clean this unit here, kind of get that up to speed, and get some of the dust off so we can get it back to that kind of semi-original finish. Like I said, this is an all-metal piece, so this definitely was a time period in manufacturing that they made all-metal quality items. I try to get every area here, wiping everything down so that it's just really clean and neat. Tidy that up a little bit, clean this up, and then what we typically do is we will go inside, and we try to clean as much as we can on the inside here, lightly of course. Give it just a once over there just to get some of the dust, and then we can also give it a blast of air, kind of clean the inside there. But the inside, there's no corrosion. What you want to do a lot of times is check to see on these older pieces, or any camera that you're working on, or flash, or piece of equipment, if there's any kind of corrosion or anything in there that you want to clean up. But this is in very good condition, and the person that had this, or persons, they took well care of it, probably realizing you know, that it was a fine piece of German engineered photo equipment by ROLLEI. Um, Most people would take extra care on that. And then this just pops right back on, just with a bayonet kind of mount right there. So it's really nice and clean. We could do a little bit more polishing and cleaning if we want, but I think for this piece, for right now, I think this is very tidy. We could get in here a little bit more and tidy that up. But this is in really good shape. It's a nice piece, and so we're pretty happy with that. What we're going to do is we're going to put a little bit of a sealer on this area so that this does not fray anymore. And there's a couple of different techniques that we use. One, of course, is to put like a gaffer tape on there. But another technique is to use a product called Plasti Dip. And you take this and you just coat this so that it kind of seals it, and you don't have any more of the fraying on there. And you can get this at any hardware store or supply store, anything like that, automotive store. And generally this is a soft plastic kind of that you apply. I'm going to open this can up in the next section. And you just paint that on with a brush such as this, and you just kind of coat these areas. And then you let those dry. So I'm going to be doing that right now. Sometimes when you have a classic piece like this, there's a lot of people that will not touch these. But since it is not working, and for our intent and purposes is to just try to get it back to a better condition and perhaps work on it later so that we can get some electronics working in here, we would have to replace the capacitor because we think that it is has malfunctioned somewhere along its history. So we're going to coat this so that it can easily go back into its container and also seal this up. So I'm going to we'll do that in the next edition here. Well, hello everybody. It's time for our next segment in our Rolleiflash restoration video here from ZBESTDIY. And what we're going to do here, I'm going to bring in my helping hands. This is a neat little tool to have when you're working on electronics and things. It has a magnifying glass, and it's got two arms here, two clips, and you can adjust these in any manner. But what we're going to do tonight is we're going to pull this cable out so that we can work on this area and put a little bit of Plasti Dip on the edge of this. So very gently, hopefully you can see this. I'm gonna put the camera connector there, and I'm gonna roll this out a little bit more from the Rolleiflash that we're working on, and I'm gonna put that clip here, and then what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be adding a little bit of Plasti Dip to this a particular area here, and I've put down a white sheet of paper. Good to have newspaper, that type of thing when you're working with this, just in case you drip. And I have our can open here, and this is Plasti Dip that I had shared in the last segment. And basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to take a little bit of this. So you can take some from the lid. Now I've mixed this up a little bit, and as we apply this, we're going to be applying this to and building up layers on this. So this is going to take several layers to seal this in as we move along. And you can see that this is being built up as we go. Kind of blends in. can see how nice that begins to make this piece look. And there's two reasons for this. One, it smooths out this joint here from the wiring, and it also makes a nice transition, so when it goes back into the case it's a little bit smoother. So we're just going to add just a little coating here. I won't be doing the whole process here. I'm going to finish this up, and then I'll show you what this looks like once we get a little further along here on this. And we'll just leave that set there for the time being. That'll be the initial or beginning of that, and we're going to let that just kind of dry a little bit. Usually takes about 30 minutes or so to kind of set up pretty good. But you just let that go, and I'll be back with you in just a little bit after that dries up. We're going to look at our finished ROLLEIFLASH restoration and repair. And from the last time, let me move this a little bit here. From the last time we were sealing up the this area here with the helping hands. That's this device here. And I forgot to mention, you can get those at, if you like, at Harbor Freight, or you can get them at online. But they're very helpful to have, these items. Good for electronics and things of that sort as well. So I'm going to move this out of our way right now. And you can see that this has created a seal along here. And you can go through and put in another little piece of tape, or gaffer's tape is good because it doesn't leave a mark and it's very strong. That's what they use in the cinematography and movie industry, gaffer's tape. You can pick that up, or black tape is nice too, as well. So we're just about ready to wrap this up. It was kind of a simple fix. As you recall, this goes right back in there, really nice and neat. And that about wraps up our ROLLEIFLASH restoration and repair for another episode of ZBEST DIY camera restoration and repair.